good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever you may be.
Not gonna lie, those theatrics, kind of amazing. I mean, he's even got a fake leg cast on and everything. What, that's not fake? Oh, well, shit, what happened, buddy? You've been fighting bears again, I take it? Or whatever it is you do when you aren't making these videos. I have to assume it's something really dumb. Oh, I know. Were you doing some DIY demolition? Oh, nasty.
You know, I was thinking about the Globies.
Oh, you were thinking about us. Isn't that nice? Not that it's about us, but that you were thinking. I know you tend to subscribe to the Bricktop school of thinking.
It can get you into a lot of trouble thinking, Errol. I shouldn't do so much of it.
But that's actually not true. What gets you into trouble is when you don't think about things. Not really, but you somehow assume that you have done so, and come to ridiculous conclusions based on that total lack of thought. It's what leads you to, well, pretty much everything you do and say, really.
No. And I'm sure they've done experiments. They had to.
Yes, we have. A lot of them. Countless, really, over and over again, getting consistent results, and when brought together, show that the Earth is almost certainly in the shape of a globe. Or an oblate spheroid for the pedants among you, but frankly same difference. Now, the flat earthers, on the other hand, do hardly any actual experiments for some fucking reason, and are far more inclined to do a bit of armchair research, which is where that pretending to think, failing hard, and coming to idiotic conclusions because of it thing comes from. Our conclusions come from, you know, actual science. Weird that.
I just want to give you an example of one experiment I'm sure they've done.
Okay, cool. But just checking, have you done it? I mean, I'm sure you're going to make a claim about what such an experiment would say or should say from your perspective, but I want to know if you have actually found out what it does say, what actually happens. Because that's the thing, Chris. What you think is going to happen isn't the science. Science is what you can actually demonstrate, even if what you demonstrate shows the absolute opposite to the thing that you wanted it to be. You actually have to accept that and move on, and not, and I cannot stress this enough, assume that reality must be wrong.
They're easy experiments, you know, it's just using the sun and the moon.
The sun and the moon, why would we do that? We all know those things are fake and don't do the real. They're just projection or tricks or some kind of illusion that's not really there and was put there by the Illubi Booby to trick us for some reason.
That's right.
See? I knew it.
Yes. My favorite. It's a Swiss Army knife. Your regular, typical, off-the-shelf unit.
Of course, the Swiss Army knife, the most scientific of all the random household / camping / whatever multi-tools. I mean, honestly, that's probably relatively true. It's just multi-tools aren't actually going to be that great for doing accurate science in general. I mean, put it this way, they are barely any good at the really simple things that they claim to be able to do. And the most important ones, that being the corkscrew and the bottle opener, are fucking terrible, especially when compared to dedicated tools. It's almost like when you put everything into a single tool, you are sacrificing its ability to do any one task really well for its ability to kinda sorta do a bunch of them, maybe.
It's got a little magnifying glass right here. Yeah, see that? Let's take a look at that magnifying glass close up. This is a magnifying glass. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Wow, that's so impressive. Well, at least we know Chris isn't trying to compensate for something by having an oversized magnifying glass with which you could see fucking atoms or some shit. Although I'm pretty sure that's not how they work, but whatever. Good job knowing your engaged audience doesn't know what the fuck a magnifying glass is. Next, you can teach them all about books. And maybe someday they'll learn to read the fucking things.
That's right. Magnifies things. To laser precision.
Okay, first off, I don't like to point out people's looks, but for fuck's fuck's sake, brush your goddamn hair, mate. You broke your leg, not your arm. Unless you work it like monkeys do, but you only broke the one leg, and frankly, it makes you look as crazy as you sound. But I don't actually think that you're nuts, just extremely gullible. And you have brushed it in videos since, so I can only assume it's because you thought, f it, I don't need to look after myself if I'm not in the car making silly videos. But dude, come on. And secondly, a laser precision magnifying glass. What the f does that mean? I don't think that's the way anyone describes magnifying glasses. Now, putting them in front of a laser is a thing, but then doesn't that make them more than laser precise, if that is what you are talking about?
So you take the sun, you get this magnifying glass, and you get that light just right, and it starts to burn paper, leaves, all sorts of things.
Right, that is what you are talking about. And again, that's not laser precise, it's way more. In fact, lasers tend to actually do the opposite at long distances. They actually get less and less accurate the further away from an object you get. By small amounts at first, but at really big distances, it's spread out like a floodlight. Like, say, if you point a really, really powerful laser at the moon, you'd never even be able to see it, even with a telescope, because it's so spread out and diffuse by that point, it's basically not there anymore. Now, there are reflectors up there, and with a bunch of expensive equipment, you can detect the lasers being reflected back, but that is well beyond the scope of any amateur experiment, so we will ignore it, and also, it's not the point of the video. Get it?
However, you know, it's curious. When you take the moon and it's a full moon and you do it.
Doing it under a full moon. I swear this guy is always hitting on me. First he wants to take me out to look at the stars, and now he wants to do it under the full moon. Next we'll be getting married under the Aurora Borealis, and I'm not gonna lie, that sounds really goddamn romantic. You're gonna make me blush, man.
And you get that just right, it emits cold.
What? What? What are you talking about? No, it fucking doesn't. That's the most ludicrous thing that you've ever said all video. God damn it, Chris. That's just not how that works. Emits cold. No, it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. What it emits is a fraction of the strength of the light that comes off the sun. And that itself is also pretty diffuse. What it emits is sweet f*** all for sure, but that's not the same thing as cold.
Ha! That's confusing.
That's not just confusing, Chris. It's out and out fucking wrong. What I think you are confusing, because you are right, you are confused for damn sure, is that the light of the moon doesn't do anything as remotely as the heat of the sun when focused. But if you were to actually measure it, you know, that experiment thing that we were talking about earlier, but actually doing it, is you would find a slight increase in temperature, because of course the sunlight reflected off the moon is going to be significantly less potent, because it's not like the moon's a fucking mirror, which is a damn shame, because it would be the only thing big enough to capture the glory that is my fine ass. I mean, look at him.
Now, weren't we told that the light from the sun is reflecting off of the moon?
Yes, we are told that because, and bear with me now, because that's what fucking happens. That's the thing about science. The things that happen are what we are trying to explain. So telling you something that doesn't happen, like say, oh I don't know, the moon produces cold light, is counterproductive when you are trying to accurately describe the universe. I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Explanations have to be true. Weird.
And that's what it's projecting? We were told that.
I mean, it's not projecting, it's reflecting. Projection of light is the process of using light from an external source to create an image on a surface by passing it through a lens or aperture. It is often used in photography and optics to visualize objects or scenes. No one is making an image from the moon in any sense of the word. I know it's always semantics, but guys like Chris so often use the completely wrong word. The only option is to correct them till one day they actually say something that's even slightly coherent. You know, in my made-up dream fantasy land that I have where that'll ever fucking happen. Hey, flat earthers aren't the only deluded ones.
So there should be shouldn't be getting colder. If anything, it should be warm at best.
Warm is a bit of a subjective term in this instance. I mean, it would be warmer than it would be in places that aren't the exact point of the focused moonlight, but the amount would be negligible, especially compared to sunlight, because you have to consider that the difference in intensity is something like 1,000 watts per meter squared for the sun's light, and the full moon is around 0.02 watts per meter squared, which is basically nothing. And measuring it would require pretty accurate devices. I don't think you would even feel a difference on your hand. But you know what you definitely won't feel? It being fucking colder.
At least. But it's not. It's cold.
Not warm, at least. Again, I bet you actually haven't measured this, have you? It has to be a difference in temperature, not the fact that you don't feel anything means that it's cold light. It's just weak. I'll put it this way. If you shine a cheap torch at your hand, you aren't going to feel warmer from that. But if you touch the bulb, you could very well give yourself a little burn. So even though the torch is definitely emitting heat, by the time it reaches your hand, it's basically all gone. Well, it's the same thing with moonlight. It's just not powerful enough to do anything. Throw in the fact that you're apparently using a fucking minuscule magnifying glass, so capturing the least amount of light you seemingly possibly could. The fact that you expect anything but abject failure is just absolutely baffling.
So that would lead me to believe that the moonlight is its own source, has its own source of light.
No, I think that would lead you to believe that you would fuck something up in your methodology and perhaps need a more accurate experiment that shows exactly what's going on. At least it would if you knew what the fuck you were talking about and had any idea how to do a science at all, ever.
Well, that wouldn't make any sense at all to me. We were told that it's reflecting the light from the sun.
It being the source of its own light is something that shouldn't make sense at all, because the thing's a giant fucking rock. And I don't know if you know this about rocks, but they don't tend to emit light unless they're fucking melting. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the moon isn't a giant ball of fucking magma. Also, I think that would make it a different color if it were. Although, either way, it would be pretty cool. Wait, no, I mean, you know what I mean, shut up.
And projecting it back down to Earth. So it shouldn't be getting colder.
And that's exactly what it doesn't. The only thing I can think of is that you assume that the reflection of the sun off an object should basically be the same temperature as the sun, maybe? But dude, even on Earth, rocks only get up to like 170 degrees Fahrenheit or about 70 degrees Celsius in direct sunlight. And that's a fraction of the heat that the sun itself is producing. And that's the thing. You know your focused light thing? Well, I'm having trouble finding exact numbers, but I've seen it claimed that focused sunlight can get up to about 7,230 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 4,000 degrees C. And at the very least, it's in the thousands of degrees. Focused light can only be as hot as the thing it's coming from, showing that the sun is really fucking hot. But the focused moonlight could only ever get to about 250 Fahrenheit, 121 degrees C, max in the absolute best of circumstances, as that's the surface temperature of the full moon at most on the best day. And even then, you would have to be using the shit like solar power plants to achieve anything like that, not your piddly little pocket knife, for fuck's sake.
Should be at least lukewarm or room temperature or something.
Where are you getting these numbers, dude? It should be this thing I decided for no reason. Fuck me. Again, assuming you're using the shit you showed, I would be surprised if you could detect any difference at all.
But not 10 degrees cooler.
The fuck? Where are you getting that fucking number? Because I know for a fact that you didn't get it. And if you did, somehow you must have up real hard. Although, let's be frank, I don't believe he's ever shown any kind of experiment, so I imagine he got this off of another flurf. But dude, this is just your version of they tell us X thing, but the people you are believing are random cranks on the internet. So it's kind of the same, only way, way, way worse. The people that we listen to about science are like experts and or capable science communicators. And even then, they will encourage you to do actual science. Whereas your quote-unquote experts are morons who either make shit up or do science so badly that they get completely inaccurate results. And then instead of telling you to do your own experiments, they tell you the different meaning from the real meaning phrase of do your own research, which should mean do some fucking experiments. But what it actually means is read and listen only to things that confirm your already held conclusions and ignore literally everything else.
See, a Globie, if they conduct this experiment, this would be their reaction.
No, I think the Globie conducting the experiment would find that the Moonlight was either no different or slightly warmer, because they would do things like make sure they weren't measuring the temperature difference in completely different places or on completely different nights or at different fucking times of day. I think they would in fact try to minimize the amount of variables so they would get as accurate a result as possible. But flurfs don't believe in that shit, mostly because they don't understand it, and that's why your experiments aren't repeatable. Because even if you lot got that result one time, that doesn't mean you didn't just fuck it up. Because frankly, when one result agrees with you and then 100 don't, that doesn't make the one that doesn't somehow more correct.
You know, they would be, you know, it's like, oh, no, I don't want to see it anymore. I can't, I don't want to look at it anymore, okay?
The worst you are going to get is redoing the experiment, minimizing the variables, and if it turns out all the other times you do it, you don't get that result, then yes, you do in fact ignore it as an outlier. It's more than likely wrong. The data is flawed, and you have to keep doing the experiment until you start to see results within a margin of error. AKA, that same thing happening over and over again when you do it, when others do it, and even when flirts do it, assuming they aren't fucking it up. Overwhelming results matching up will inevitably give you a conclusion, that being that the moon doesn't produce fucking cold light.
Get it away from me. Come on, let's go. Let's go to the bar, or wherever the hell. Let's go watch the sports game.
See, now I know you have no idea what Globers would do, because Globers tend to be actual fucking nerds who have never even heard of sports. They're all far too busy finding accurate science fascinating, while your 5 minutes of not doing any actual work gives you plenty of time to get drunk and be wrong on the internet. Man, I almost envy you. Damn.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was gonna tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the